Alright, I'm off to a little late start. Internet went out, made it hard to finish watching everything I wanted to watch before I recorded the video. Recorded that. Let's get this open with. You can kind of see there, that's an important anime there. Although we have one more package. Y'all could only trust that I was actually doing something important with it. Oh, that's kind of less. I mean, you know, maybe people were into this, but you know, it seems a little fetishy. Whereas, I guess there's some fetishness with that. But anyways, I'm blabbering on. Let's just open this up and get this out of here. This one's region A only. This one has an English dub. All 14 episodes on 2 discs, 210 minutes. And a loose disc. Oh, that's a belly. Huh. Well, I never thought I would see a DVD whose cover was a belly. I guess it makes sense. But next we got Chainsaw Man, and look at that, a lenticular cover. You know, it's sort of like tongues. You just kind of have to test it to make sure it's still working. Is there anything to read about the back here? I see a region A there. Crunchy. Warner Brothers. Okay. God, my eyes itchy for no damn reason. Well, I guess I'll put this aside. Anyways, going back to this, it felt like there was another lenticular cover there. There it is. I'm trying to think if it makes sense to try and take this off. I don't think so. It's probably what the unlimited edition version would look like. Okay, this is Viz. And that's... More chainsaw. A lot more things in there than I would have expected. Anyways, that's a really weird title to look at next. This is Osomatsu-kun. Guess I'm not sure. But anyways, this would be the stuff that was released at the end of the month. So we've got our Discotheque Eastern Star stuff again. Looking back, that's a region A, Japanese with English subtitles. That's all episodes. No, that's a number. That's like 84, 86 episodes. It says so up there too. Different underneath the cover. Okay. I'm guessing this is him. So it's not just his face is like that. I do not know what to make of this. Okay, this looks like it's the background image there. Alright, intriguing. Next up we have Vivid Strike. Is this related to Magical Girl Lyrical Nova? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it is. This is 12 episodes. This is Japanese with English subtitles, Region A, 12 episodes on 1 disc. I guess I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. Because I guess I'm just thinking of Strikers, but did I know that whether or not this was part of it? I don't know. I was hoping to see Fate or Nanoha to know for certain. They're not there, which makes me wonder if I'm wrong, but well, anyways. Last but not least, DRS on Blu-ray. Which I don't know if it's been released on Blu-ray, but, you know, I have it on Blu-ray now, so definitely out now. Pretty sure it wasn't released before. Looking at the back, let's see, I don't see, there's a region A there, okay. English dub and Japanese with English subtitles, so both of those. Different underneath the slipcover, always nice. There's been a couple of those today, of course. One disc. I guess it makes sense. This would have been Turn of the Millennium, so I don't think you can get too much better with. Do I remember any of the details of the show? Maybe little bits of stuff here and there. Jeez, it's been so long. Anyways, here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. Alright, well, I guess to begin talking about stuff, my Friday friend is back, so, you know, we resume watching stuff. So for starters, you know, I think of this season, Kaiju number 8, season 2 is the most important, and we've begun watching that. Now, I've seen it before, obviously, but this was, I guess, him watching episodes 13 and 14. Rewatch for me. I guess my thoughts on them are still about the same, so I don't have anything too notable to say. And he'll always be one episode behind because we get together on Fridays. You know, he's Friday friend. But, you know, it airs on Saturday. Anyways, maybe I don't have anything to really talk about regarding the episodes rewatched, but the new episode that was watched, I guess it's okay. I think we saw our main character going through some interesting stuff, getting told some interesting stuff. I think there's maybe a bit of a risk of it feeling like, you know, the show's called Kaiju number 8 and not any of the other characters, and some of the idea is you kind of want a story where a main character is interesting. I mean, I'm sure you can have others, but then is the story really about, I guess, the premise or the main character, or is it about something else? You know, long-running shonen shows can kind of be like that. And I think it's still on the more positive side. So, Season 2, Episode 15. It hasn't gone too far away from our main character, but I don't know that we've gotten to see anything really stand out about him so far this season. Other than an interesting dilemma, but I also worry that it's... I guess we'll have to see if it's resolved too easily or not. Because like I mentioned, you know, Spider-Man 2 was kind of about the same sort of thing about the entire movie. Kaiju number 8 at least has the advantage that it feels like a much more natural consequence of the end of the previous movie than Spider-Man 2 does. But, yeah. I don't know. I remember being entertained. But I guess I just want to see more episodes, I guess. See what it's about to do. It had some interesting stuff. Oh, yes. Actually, we did see some cool stuff relating to him. Things I don't want to talk about too much because I don't want to spoil things, but yeah, there was some stuff in there. Now I'm remembering some of it. Okay. And also with the Friday Friend, we watched episodes 9 through 11 of Dragon Ball Daima. Actually, that's some good math, because that does mean that there are 9 left, and I guess if it was 3 episodes, that would be all but 3s, or all 3s. Anyways, I'm not sure what I have to comment on, other than some of the stuff they did tying into Majin Buu, you know, it's not as bad rewatching because I know that it wasn't overdone, but it is still one of those things where just like, don't know what to think about it. I did like the lore expansion stuff in there, but I could definitely get into mood to rewatch it because I really do like the opening for it a lot. There's just something about it that's just kind of a... Well, I don't know. Maybe it sort of feels like a send-off to Akira Toriyama in a way. I'm not sure, but also not exactly. But it's, yeah. Not sure what else to say. Let's see if I can go through the list of other stuff because I do want to wrap this up and get it processing. I did not watch the latest episode of New Saga, so that probably is about to be dropped. It's still on my list, but at risk. Reborn as a Vending Machine, Season 2, Episode 5. I guess okay stuff. Clavatas, Episode 5. That one had interesting stuff. If there's any complaint I would have, it's that I wanted it to move on a little bit more, but I think it needed to reestablish everything that's going on so that we got more understanding of how interesting all the things are. Yeah, I'd say it was an okay episode. Not as great as the others, but not bad, and not even okay. I would say okay. Very nice things. Onryo Kaiten Rebirth Verse Episode 5. What happened at the end of this episode? Some stuff that happened in it is fine. We didn't have that. We had that. Okay, yeah, I kind of remember where it ended, and it was doing okay stuff, I would say. It was staying entertaining. Not sure what to expect from it, but, you know. Sure, I'm not sure what to expect for it. I guess both long-term and short-term, because it's kept things interesting, but I'm also not sure what to think. Its direction has been interestingly random. In a good way, I would say, but interesting. Rising of the Shield Hero, Season 4, Episode 4. I think this episode did do some of the things I want to do, but it took more of the episode than I would have thought to do it. I'm not even sure if it's done doing that. And so, to a certain degree, I think that it is a risky note here because there is an issue where Shield Hero Season 3's major problem was character development of interesting characters, but it's like, does it feel like this character's development really ties into Shield Hero, or did they have enough to work with to continue doing something interesting, but they keep introducing interesting characters and doing interesting things, which ends up feeling like a distraction. And hard to say for certain, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Seventh Prince, Season 2, Episode 16. Is that all that interesting? Okay, yeah, neat stuff happened in that episode. I wouldn't say it's like the best of the best for Seventh Prince, but, you know, he has some really great unhinged moments where this one just continues to show that, like, he's an entertainingly unexpected and surprising character. And he continues to entertain. Good job. Welcome to the Outcast Restaurant, Episode 5. I think this episode ended up working out, but it was a little weaker than I would have thought because it did something that's obvious. Okay, he's misunderstanding the situation sort of humor. And it was just so painfully obvious it was that it felt like that joke kind of went on a little long. There were a couple of neat elements to this episode, though. A couple slightly touching things, I would say. But I also thought it was really neat to see the Warrior Girl actually do that jump flip attack thing she did. That was actually kind of neat in a lot of ways. Not only just, you know, kind of neatly animated, and also finally giving us a chance to see her doing something hyper competent, as opposed to comically incompetent. Because, the impression is she's never been that bad of a warrior. It's just that the show's never been about her and kind of had weird ways of putting her in situations. But the point is, I think there's that. And the fact that she kind of did it while working with him in a way makes it... I don't know, meaningful. Sorry, Leon. Dan to Dan, Season 2, Episode 17, kind of, it was a bit of a chaotic episode, but not chaotic in the same way as the previous ones. Just more, like, socially chaotic in a way. But in a way that's not, like, it doesn't feel like chaos, but there's just a lot of stuff happening. And a couple of funny moments, some interesting setup. I guess we'll see what the next episode gives us. I guess some also character development moments for our main characters, so all good stuff. Water Magician, Episode 5. I'm still not quite sure what to think of the episode as a whole. If I were to call it an issue, there's something interesting going on. But our main character is off doing something else interesting. And I worry that it feels a little distracting. We'll see if the next episode kind of ties it all together and makes it work in a better way than it seemed like it was. But for the most part, I don't know. I think one of the things I like about the distraction is it's doing a good job of helping us understand why the other characters are kind of where they are in the grand scheme of things, even if it doesn't have anything to do with our main character yet. But what he's doing is also kind of important. I think another show might have had both of them in the same episode, but maybe would have purposely did one first and then had the other one be a moment for him to shine, whereas maybe they're timing their moment to shine in a very simple, straightforward way. But anyways, I look forward to seeing the next episode. It's definitely been pleasant. Dr. Stone, Science Feature, Season 4, Part 2, Episode 16. I'm trying to remember everything they did. They did that, they introduced some new eccentric characters. If you like the characters, you'll probably like the new ones they introduced, because, they like to give us intriguing characters, and they don't feel like carbon copies. So we keep getting characters that are fresh, but somehow appropriate, for lack of better terms. A lot of entertaining stuff, I guess. Dr. Stone, it's a nice show still. Secrets of the Silent Witch, Episode 5. Okay, yeah, this was a fun episode. Okay, so one of the things that began with that's, always neat is when your main character is secretly a badass. And in this case, she's deliberately staying secretly a badass. Like, it's not even just that she's trying to keep a low profile, it's that she desperately wants to keep a low profile. So she did something incredibly amazing in a way that looked like somebody else had done something, and she deliberately made it where it looked like he just happened to, like, time a tricky shot right or something like that. But, he obviously missed. But the thing that's nice about it is, even though she did that in order to keep a low profile, he's not really bragging about it and making it something where it feels like he's stealing her credit. To a certain degree, it just feels like, okay, he got the credit for it, and, he's, like, mostly just happy that danger was there, and he said he got lucky, but he also, when the moments would have come up where he would have been that kind of arrogant person that says, "Oh yes, I did a good job of that thing," he just stays silent, similar to the main character. And they also revealed some other interesting things about him that we'll have to see what they build up to. Some other interesting past things, but mostly trying to set up that and that. And I think the way they set up the clubs she's going to join was entertaining. I think we also got to see a side of her that we really haven't seen before. I think we maybe kind of, but maybe not in a context where it's just like, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to say, because, you know, there was just fun elements to the episode all around. Now, I don't know what her being in those clubs is going to feel like, but, yeah, we'll have to see. Fun stuff. Togen Anki, episode 4. Okay, shonen-y sort of stuff, I guess. You know, I had a coworker that was talking about how Gachi Akuta is standard, being very standard shonen, but I definitely think that Togen Anki is being even more standard shonen-y, whereas Gachi Akuta is at least doing things that are showing good growth to a certain extent, I guess. Keeping us interested in seeing his potential. Togen Anki gave us some things to see potential for our main character. I'm not sure about growth, but I guess it's okay. Kaiju number 8, I already mentioned that. Shihiro and the Assassin Princess, episode 5. I was a bit worried that this episode would feel like it's a stale thing, but surprisingly it wasn't. I'd say it was pretty good. Interesting, surprising moments in there that I didn't expect for an episode I felt like would be potentially covering similar ground. But it didn't. I felt like it grew as it continued. It's growing the series. I think it's been pretty good so far. Scoop Up by an S-Rank Adventurer, episode 5. Okay stuff, I guess. But I feel like the show's definitely, while I think some of the execution of the fundamental premise was better executed, for everything else, like, the main positive I can give it is that we haven't seen the old party bitching, moaning, groaning, complaining, and being whiny losers. Now, it still has a chance to do that. It may still do that. But, you know, it hasn't really been bogging us down with that mumbo jumbo. So maybe that can still happen at a good time. But it is doing things like, okay, this is not natural conversation. This is exposition for the sake of, oh, we needed to pass this information on to the audience. So they kind of did it in a very awkward way. So it's falling apart a little bit. We'll have to see if I continue watching it or not. Probably will, because it hasn't turned me off yet. But completely yet, at least. But yeah, we'll have to see. Summer Hikaru Died, episode 5. I think some interesting things in here. Although I'm not feeling that horror element as strongly as before. There's definitely some spooky scenes in there. But I do worry, and not worry like worry in a bad way, but rather I do worry that for a show that seemed like it had good horror potential, it feels more and more like it's the sort of show that you'll only watch because you want to rewatch the relationship, which I think is fine for people that like the relationship. There's really nice things about it, but it could be a potential waste of good horror. We'll have to see as it continues going. And maybe it's just certain elements of it wouldn't scare me and it's not necessarily bad, but I do worry that, again, it still feels like that relationship is important. And a lot of that makes sense because it's the sort of thing where I would have wanted to tell Hikaru that, you know, certain relationship advice things. Little things like, okay, no, I guess I don't want to say that, but anyways, there would have been some stuff there, but yeah, we'll have to see. That one's still intriguing. I'm still watching it. Ugly Mug Epic Fighter, episode 5. The end of the previous episode did have me worried about a thing, but I guess some okay and touchy stuff, it still kind of sort of works for what it was doing. So it's okay. Apocalypse Bringer Myeon Gra, I'm continuing to enjoy. This episode like I've mentioned a lot of times, one thing I like about it is it takes another game genre and brings it into the isekai fantasy thing, the civilization type game. Research that, build up units, that sort of game, sort of civilization or commanding, maybe not command and conquer. Anyways, that sort of thing. And this episode was, okay, starting to establish what is their relationship with the outside world looking like and going to look like. And I felt like it kind of gave that more than I would have thought. Especially in retrospect, where we saw a side of a character, maybe two sides of a character, or two sides of two characters, I'm not sure, than we thought. Where the way the attitude of one of the characters was intriguing and very intimidating and fun. And then an element in there that I don't know what to make of that, and I don't want to speculate on here because I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but that brief flash there was intriguing. I feel like I have an idea of what it's supposed to mean, but I can't help but see the possibility that it could secretly be something else. And now I'm kind of curious, show. Well, I've been saying I've been enjoying it. Good. Did I say everything I was going to say about Gachiakuta? Because I watched episode 4. And I'd say it's actually continuing to be interesting. I don't think they introduced anybody this time that I hated. Like I mentioned episode 2 and episode 3, each introduced character is just like, okay, I hate you. And the show turns around and says, here's why you shouldn't completely hate them. It's like, well, all that means is you're not on my shit list, but I still hate you. So nothing like that in this episode. Characters have, why'd you do that? Whatever. Why'd you do that? Whatever. Why'd you do that? Whatever. But, I don't know. I guess okay enough elements. I guess we'll have to see that they don't hold our main character back. And that's the main thing. Don't make this about other characters. And somehow this incident should be something that we feel like is relevant to us seeing it through the main character's eyes, I guess. And I think it kind of does that. So that makes it good. And then, last but not least, Sword of the Demon Hunter, Season 1, Part 2, Episode 17. I guess... No, there were neat things about this. This wasn't touching like the previous episode, but it did touch on some stuff that... It's hard to say it feels like a story is definitely building. But it's definitely ending more episodes, showing us more of the future time. Which I guess took place in 2009, according to the thing. So, it's the past for us, but the future for them, the present for them for all intents and purposes. And some of that interaction was actually a lot more interesting this time than any of the previous ones. And the past stuff wasn't necessarily bad, but it was definitely something where I guess maybe the pacing feels weird because they're having to help us kind of stabilize on a status quo change that's happening right now. Or the previous episode or something like that. But nothing... I was going to say too big, but maybe, I don't know, it's kind of big. I guess we'll have to see what it means. Alright. So that's a lot of recording. Is there anything else to talk about? Nothing else that immediately comes to mind. Didn't even really get to play much Doom 2. But Dead by Daylight, Terraria. Well, same old, but nothing I think that's interesting to talk about here. So, let's see. To wrap it up, I guess there's a question of whether or not I'm planning to get a Switch 2. I think somebody asked me that, and I did mention. And for anybody else that didn't read that or who's curious, again, it is still on my radar, but not enough for me to feel like I have to try anything desperate. Like, over the weekend I could have walked to GameStop just to check up on them. I know they wouldn't have it in stock, but I would have kind of figured out, what they're doing. And I think I saw that there may be ways I can probably order one online without going through scalpers even, and eventually get what I need. But I haven't pushed forward. Some of the weighing there is... I can't help but feel like the only reason I'm interested in the Switch 2 now is to play certain games in higher FPS. I can't even remember if I talked about this to y'all, or if I just said this to somebody else. So, like, seeing Pokemon Violet without any of the frame drops, that would be intriguing. But that kind of implies that I take whatever's on my Switch here and copy it over to the Switch 2, I guess. And maybe that sounds fine, but I guess the thing that worries about me, other than the fact that I did some copying somewhere else recently, if I do that and entering game cards in the Switch 2, now that it becomes my main Switch, becomes a problem, that would suck. Then the other thing is I want to keep this Switch running, so I'll probably copy that Switch over to here, and then my Switch Lite over to that Switch, and that's a lot of work. And for not a lot of benefit. And the only other thing I'm interested in for the Switch 2 at the moment is the upcoming Pokemon Legend game. But I'm not sure how excited I am for that as well. If I were to say why, it's because for Pokemon Legends Arceus, I really liked the fact that, you were just kind of out in the wilderness. It was a very Pokemon way of feeling like you're camping, just kind of outdoors doing weird stuff, even though you're indoors playing on a video game, I know, but Pokemon Legends ZA looks like it is only in the city, and so it's not going to be that. So then the question is, okay, what do I feel like I want to be watching? Sorry. Distracted by a little moment on the stream there. Not what I would be playing or watching. What would I want to play? And I guess the problem is, I think they've advertised it as, okay, it's in the city, and here's city life where you have Pokemon, and maybe I guess you still find Pokemon and fight bad Pokemon. There's probably areas to go catch Pokemon or something like that. I don't know. But if it's supposed to be city life, the Pokemon, then it occurs to me, I want that slice of life feeling that kind of came from Arceus. And I'm not entirely sure what that would be, except maybe, oh, well, here's what happens when people are living in a town and instead they are living their daily lives. So would I be living my daily lives? Would I be working a Poke job and a Poke 9 to 5? I don't know. I don't know. Things to think about, but I should still probably work on getting a Switch 2 at some point. Anyways, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Y'all, have a nice week.